discussion that I wanted to have about leveraging into abundance. So in 2018, I spent the whole year really thinking about what the rules for abundance were and how I could get more of it. I just wanted to know how to operate it. I knew it exists, but I just didn't really know the physics inside of the space. So I came up with some things, and I want to share those with you kind of in a practical standpoint, because we actually have some people use this system I'm about to show you, and it's changed their lives pretty quickly. And it's really just making a couple of decisions. That's what's amazing. You just have to make a few decisions and have enough courage to try it out, and your changes your life completely. So let's talk about it. I'll get my mouse to work here. All right. So this whole thing is based on this, that the cost to stay 1 month at a hotel costs a whole lot more than it costs to stay at a traditional rental for 1 month. So if that's true, which is true nearly everywhere I've traveled all over the country, whether you're in New York where it's super expensive, or San Francisco where it's super, super expensive, it still true, holds up, that the cost to stay at a hotel is for a month is a lot more than it costs to stay at a comparable traditional rental. So this space in between, this margin in between, is all this untapped money and untapped potential. And that's what we're going to be talking about. The difference between the full cost of a rental and the cost of a hotel. So I know, Bill, I know you have some rentals, and what I'm sharing with you is that there's a lot more money to be made on top of that. But let's talk more about it. But let's go through the story for you guys of Erin, the entrepreneur. That would be you guys. You guys should think of yourself as Erin. Her problem is that she is doing good. She's got a good job, went to college, but she's got a bunch of student loan debt. And that kind of freezes her out paying that thing. It's a heavy lift. It affects everything she does, her car payments, or all her decisions is because of her student loan paying off. And she just doesn't see a way out of it. And we got Ivan, he's an investor. He's got some retirement dollars that he wants to invest. He's also got a little bit of cash that he wants to invest. A lot of people like that, and especially in the Bay Area where I'm around, a lot of people from Google, they're young folks who got a lot of cash and looking for a place to deploy it, as well as a lot of seniors who are trying to make the retirement stretch out, because they're basing their cash flow in retirement on 10% income, 10% return on investment, but we're a long ways from that now. Okay, and we got Peter, the programmer. Peter's on an extended assignment, and like more and more people find themselves on, their companies send them off to either program for a new restaurant, needs someone there for 2 months just getting their software up and going, or new stores, those type of things, IT professional. All right, so let's talk about how they come together. But here's the punchline, is that Erin made some decisions. That's all she made, is decisions. No money, no nothing, just a couple of decisions, and she ends up creating a cash flow of over $600 a month. So that is the punchline I want to give you guys. You guys interested in that? No money out of pocket, all safe, and Ivan, the investor, ends up with all his money back and making infinite returns of $83 a month. What do you guys think? Not bad? You got to unmute yourselves to say something.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
How could that happen?
Let's break it in. Let's go into the details of it. Here we go. So here's this process. I put together this flow chart because I'm a big nerd, and it took me a while to work it all out, and then we actually tested this thing. So I'm gonna explain it piece by piece to you, and we're gonna walk you through what Erin did and how that worked with Peter and Ivan. I'll show you all their roles in it. Now remember, Erin, she just making decisions, and this is how she does it. Okay, so she decides to that it's true. The cost of staying at a hotel costs a lot more than a traditional rental costs for 1 month. And there's a lot of untapped money there. So she decided she would go get that money and use it for her student loans and improve her lifestyle. So she talked to, she figures how much she needs, and she talks to Ivan, who's got money, who wants to loan it out, and they decide, well, if you loan me so much money, I'm going to give you this reward, this fee. Those two decide on that. And then they also decide, if we're going to do this, to keep it safe, we're going to have some money set aside in reserves because things go wrong. Nothing goes as planned. So they said, let's do that. Let's make sure we have good reserves, and let's try this tactic. And reserves, I call that the cost of 1 month's rent and 1 month's expenses, really. So typically, if you have a rental, you have to pay the rent, of course, and cost of the internet and insurance, of course, and utilities. All those things together is going to cost of holding. So that's 1 unit of reserve, we call it. Okay, so they decide between Erin and Ivan, they decide how much they need to borrow, how much he's going to get as a fee reward, and what the reserves are. And Ivan goes ahead and gives Erin the money she wants. So she has not spent any money yet, and Ivan gets to work some of his investment. That's what he wants. So they're both getting what they want. And Erin, she knows Peter, who's the programmer who's on this long-term assignments, and Peter hates the extended stay. He's just sick of the hotel. So she says, I'm going to give you a furnished rental for less money than you're spending. And Peter loves that because he can now pocket some of that money because it's all tax-free to him. His housing allowance is tax-free. If he can get housing and put more money in his pocket, he loves that. So again, Erin has not spent any money. She just contacted Ivan, who had money, who wanted to spend, and Peter, who had a housing issue, and he'd rather save some money than to stay in the hotel. So what they do is, Erin, she sets up a short-term rental based on Ivan's money, the investor, and the first thing she does after getting up and going, everything's working, is she says, well, we got to put aside some money because things are going to go wrong. We got to reserve. And so the first thing she does is she starts putting money each month into the reserve account until they reach the amount that her and Ivan decided. So they're building up the reserves. No one's taking any money out of this business yet, the short-term rental business. Okay. And they do that for a couple of months until all those reserves are fully funded to the level that they agreed on. And then it's called phase 2. They start something new. After the reserves, then they can start distributing money. And so the first question is, has an investor got all his money back yet? Says, I haven't got his money back. If no, then we need to start making payments to him. Let's give him 80% of the net income each month. So Ivan's getting a big cash flow stream. He's reducing his risk of this unsecured loan that he gave. And again, Erin she hasn't put any money into the business yet. She's just focusing on keeping Peter comfortable and making sure he's collects the rent and doing everything right that way. But she hasn't put any money in yet. She's just the fact that there's a difference between what you can charge in the hospitality industry and versus the rental market. She's just collecting some of that money. So they do this. The leftover money, the next month, she says, has Peter got all his money back? And if he hasn't, she gives him 80% of the the net income. Okay, and then phase 3, after Peter's got all his, not Peter, but after Ivan's got all his money back, then phase 3 starts. That's when he starts getting his reward. Okay, so again, Aaron is just focusing on making net income and based off of tapping into that difference, collecting some of that. And then she's starting to pay on Peter's reward. They already worked that out before any of this started. And if he hasn't got his full reward paid off yet, she starts making payments to him. So she starts paying Ivan monthly income stream. And this keeps going until Ivan's reward is paid off. And once it is, all the money is Aaron's from then on out. So again, she has not spent any money. She's doing this safely because she's got reserves all set up. Okay, so that's what's cool about it. That's what's different about it. This is not being overly leveraged or being reckless with money. So here's the summary of it. At 10 months, that's when you go into that phase 2. Well, actually, 10 months is when you go into phase 3. So in 10 months, all Aaron has to do is pay Ivan $83. And in this example I'm using, I'm about to show you this example. And she starts collecting $616 a month. And then at the end of 35 months or 3 years, Ivan gets $2,000 more than he invested. So that's huge. He put in $5,000, he gets out $7,000, so he's happy. Aaron puts in no money at all, and she walks away with $16,000. So she could buy a car with that or pay off a car. And Peter's happy too because he's got savings all along. I don't know if he's going to stay the full 3 years, but she can always find another person who wants an extended stay assignment. So everybody wins in this situation. We got the tenant, the guest wins, the investor wins, and the entrepreneur wins. It's pretty amazing. That's the type of capitalism that I absolutely love. You guys have any questions about that? Chime in. Okay, I'll keep going.
How does she find an investor like that? A unit like that?
Yeah, they're all over. So she can find a unit. If she owns a rental like Bill does, she can just furnish it and get going. And if she doesn't have a rental, she can rent someone else's. Remember, she's paying full price. We're talking about the difference between a full price rental and the hotel industry, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So she can find a rental anywhere. If she can find a studio or a 1-bedroom.
Okay.
Okay. We're talking about these things. Rentals are everywhere. You just open up Craigslist. All right. So there's no lack of rentals. There's no lack of people who want to stay for 3 to 4 months at a time. That's why all you have to do is see if there's an extended stay hotel around. Okay. If Extended Stay America Residence Inn is in your town, then all of this works. Okay. Good question.
There's
plenty. Are there plenty where you are?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all they're doing is racking up people staying for 1 to 2 months. And they have 140 rooms and more. Okay. So there's an abundance of this. There's an abundance of rentals. And there's an abundance of investors who want to work their money better. So that's why we're talking about abundance. All it is Aaron made a decision to do this. Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's do it with numbers. Remember, they all have their own self-interest. Ivan wants to get a bigger return on his money. And Peter wants some savings, and he wants to get the he wants to get the hell out of the hotel because he just can't stand to be there for more than 20 days. It's just painful. And Aaron she needs to get some more cash flow, take care of her loans and just the debt that she's saddled with. Yeah, so let's go through the numbers. So right off the bat, Erin thinks she needs about $5,000 for the setup for a first month's rent, a security deposit. She decides she's going to rent someone else's place. All right, since she can pay full price, she can go ahead and rent someone else's place. And if you're like Bill, you can just simply furnish your own rental. Okay, the smallest one or even the least popular one, you can just furnish it and get up and going. But to get some furnishings and things, being resourceful, you can get it done for about $3,000. So she went ahead and borrowed $5,000. Okay. Now this is really important. Even if you have the $5,000, even if she had the $5,000 herself, do you think she should have used it? Go ahead and chime in. Is it her money better in the bank, or is it better being deployed? What do you guys think?
But if it's better to keep a reserve, and if she wants to scale up, it's better to borrow, because her cost of borrowing, I mean, she can make more money borrowing at this rate than using her own money.
That's a good comment. So absolutely, what you're saying is absolutely correct. But if she doesn't have to deploy her own money, then she can do this over and over again, and she doesn't have any restrictions. In fact, she has reserves, so it makes her a less risky lender or person to lend to. You follow that logic?
Yes, showing the reserves helps the lender, because otherwise you're on the edge, and nobody likes people on the edge.
That's exactly right. So for this reason, for this process, the best thing she can do is leave her money in the bank. Keep it safe. Keep her big reserves. Okay, so Peter's reward is $2,000, which is pretty good. It's massive. And then they decide 1 unit of reserve is going to be $1,600. But they're only going to go for a percentage of that, and I recommend that you only go for a percentage of that. But it's really up to between you and the investor. I'm saying you as you're the entrepreneur, you're Erin. So whatever you guys decide, what percent of reserves you want, that's what you should do. Okay. So after they decide on principal, reward, and reserve, then the money gets deployed. Of course, IOUs and all that type of thing, promissory notes. And again, her focus is on producing net income. That's her job. Everybody mute yourselves here. Let me see if I can mute you. You got it? Go ahead and try to mute. There you go. Okay, so her job, as long as the cost of a hotel is more than the cost of a rental, she can produce net income. All right, the next thing is, so in this case, she's producing a $700 net income, okay? Doing furnished short-term rentals. She's getting that from Peter, okay? Peter's getting his savings and she's creating net income. And then the question here is, are the reserves funded? In our case, we're going to say 80% of the monthly costs, so $1,280, $1,280. And of course, $700 is not, it's less. So that's where the first monies go. So no one gets any money. We're just building the reserve fund. Again, we're starting Erin with no money. If you already have money savings, you can go ahead and put it here, and then the reserves are fully funded. Okay. But I'm assuming Erin has no money at all. All right, that's for this exercise. Okay, so then they have to do it another month. The second month, they'll have another $700. So now the reserves are fully funded and we can move on. So there should be about $1,400 in the reserve fund. You guys follow that? Someone chime in, tell me what they think. Any questions about this? This is really important. Reserves are everything.
The math is easy to follow.
Okay, good.
How did you come up with those rates?
Well, these rates are typical. So all the people I've trained on short-term rentals, they're typically pulling out $700 a month in net income on the low end. Much, much higher than that.
I'm trying to figure out, is the reserve 1,600? You said,
Yeah.
but aim for a percent.
So
80% of what?
80% of the 1,600. So say the cost of her place, her rental, say the rental, she's renting a place for say $1,000, but
Okay.
she's going to pay sewer, water, garbage on top of that. She can pay for Wi-Fi, maybe some insurance and things like that. Okay, utilities. That's how the cost for 1 month, if the place was empty, would be 1,600.
Okay.
Okay, so
I got that.
So I'm saying a safe amount to have in the bank is 80% of 1 month of reserves. Okay, that's what keeps it from being a risky proposition when I'm sharing with you. Because you got these reserves, because things are going to go wrong. You're going to need to call the plumber or something like that. And you don't want to say, I don't have any money. That's what it's about.
So I understand the 80%, but
yeah,
just to make it simple, why not have 1 month? Just it's really easy to do
sure.
that, but is there a reason you pick 0.8?
Absolutely. I just picked 0.8 just because of the Pareto principle. You know, it's just the minimum that I think is reasonable.
Is there, do you have a lot of any statistics or some basis to say you don't need a month, 0.8 is better?
No, that's just I pulled that out of my bottom. That's just where I feel comfortable. For my business, I run we reserve to the 80%.
Got it. That's any statistics, like if you have 80%, you know, let's say 90% of the rentals are covered, or is there any statistics or?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So what I did, big aside, I used to do reserve studies for homeowners associations. And I was always telling them what percent reserve, what percent funded they were, you know. So even if you're 80%, you're considered not fully funded, but you're not in bad shape. I'm kind of right in the middle there. And if you were a bank, they're going to look at your reserves. You know, the federal government's going to come look at your reserves and things like that. So it's even less than this. These banks are even lower funded than what I'm talking about. So anyway, good question. All right, so in this case, they're going to have to do 2 months of reserve contributions, and then they can move on. So that's the first thing that happens is fill the reserves. I just want to make sure you guys got that piece. Okay, the next phase 2, is when they're going to start paying Ivan his money back. Okay, so we're going to return his full principal. That's what phase 2 is about. So again, Peter is working with Aaron. Peter's getting a savings every month because he's happy. He's in a place that he likes to be, and Aaron's just creating net income. Again, she's creating $700 a month. And in phase 2, she says, well, has Ivan got all his money back? If no, we're going to give him 80% of the net income. All right, and she keeps the other 20%. That's how it works. And then the next month, there we go. It's again, she makes sure she's creating net income. That's her whole job. And her job is not to contribute to the business. Is to tap into that difference between the hotel industry and the rental market. Okay, so this is going to go in circles. She's going to be for 9 months. She's going to make contributions to Ivan until all his money's back. He gets his full $5,000 back. Okay, in phase 2. At that point, then we can move on to phase 3. How do you guys feel about that? So in 9 months, here just the math right here. And if he put $5,000 out of his pocket, Ivan did. In 9 months, he's gonna get it all back. You guys good with that?
That's fast.
It is. Yep. Yep. Let's talk about phase 3. All right. And phase 3 is the fun part. So again, what's happening here is Erin's getting a small cash flow, but again, she has not put any money out of her pocket. She's basically created money out of thin air, without exaggerating. She really has. All right. So here's phase 3. In phase 3, again, her whole job is just to tap into the difference between the hotel industry and the typical rental market. And again, it's all funded by Peter, who's happy. All right, he's getting a savings every month. He's pocketing his housing allowance, so he's thrilled. And he has more space, and he's not next to a Denny's, and he's happy. He's creating a $700 net income, and then in this phase 3, she says, has Ivan got his full fee yet? Okay, and if he hasn't, she's already agreed to what his fee is, and she's going to pay him back over 2 years. Let's look over here. So month 10, Ivan's reward is $2,000, and they agreed that she has up to 2 years to pay him off. Okay, that's going to give him a 20% return on his money. So here's the math: 2,000 divided by 24. That's how she just needs to pay him $83 a month, and that's why I recommend right here that you just set it on bill pay. Let your bank do it, and don't even think about it. It's just forget it then. Okay. And right now, at this point, at month 10, she now has $616 to put in her pocket. Remember, she's got reserves, right? In case something goes wrong. If since she's renting this place, if something breaks, she just calls the landlord. All right. Now she keeps doing this until Ivan's fully paid his fee back, his reward, and then all the money is Erin's. Let's take a look at that. Here's the summary of it. Okay, the initial investment is $5,000 for Ivan and $0 for the entrepreneur. Then the first 2 months, they're all putting money into the savings account. That from then on, all the way to month 9, they're paying Ivan his principal back. Okay, and she's keeping a very small amount. She's still creating cash flow. This is still enough to pay for her gasoline for her car. Okay, and she's created this by nothing, by just making a decision to get going. Okay, and then right here, after Ivan's got all his money back, then he gets this trickle income for 2 years, and she starts making the $600. And now the $616 is more than what most landlords make on net income after everything's said and done for one unit. It's quite a bit more. It's actually 6 times. Typical landlords all over the country average is, if they're lucky, to make $100 a month of net income after all expenses, maintenance, and everything. She's making $600, 6 times what a traditional landlord makes. But what's her return? She didn't take any money out of her own pocket. So what's her rate of return? Anybody want to guess that? What's the rate of return for Erin?
Infinite.
6,000.
Infinite. She hasn't put any money.
Oh, wow.
She didn't put any money out of her pocket. So that's what abundance looks like. She's just creating money out of nothing besides making decisions. Okay. So when it's all said and done, after she's paid back Ivan his $7,000 in 35 months, she racks up this $16,000. Okay. Which isn't. But here's the thing. After 1 year of doing this, even this is the 3 years basically. But after 1 year, she has an idea of how everything works out. All right. She's got a full year of experience. She starts expanding. That's how it goes. After you know what you're doing, after you documented things, then you can go ahead and and grow. So after 1 year, she duplicates herself 6 times. And this is her, by the time she's done in 3 years, she's got $3,697 per month of net income, all with money, nothing out of her pocket. You guys got any questions about that?
So this presumes that he's renting it somewhere around $2,400 a month to the short-term tenant.
Yeah, well, whatever the difference is, you can play with. That's what's fascinating,
Well,
because
given your numbers,
okay,
$1,600 roughly for
yeah,
the overhead, let's say, plus
yeah,
600 or 700
that's right,
for the profits, 2,300 ballpark.
right, right.
And then, so now, of course, if you have any bad debt or you have a problem re-renting it during the term, something like that, 1 month's worth of, excuse me, tenants vacancy would wipe out, you know what, a couple months worth of potential profit.
Right. So it's all based on marketing. So if you look at my numbers, you know, typical housing allowances, if you look at the Government Service Administration, it's going to be $100 and more per night for a hotel. That's what your typical allowance is for housing. So Peter is getting at least $100 a day, so $3,000. He's getting at least $3,000 housing allowance. Okay. So he's happy to pay much less than that. You said 23, so that means he's pocketing $700. And when you, and this is what's amazing. It's amazingly simple. If you are undercutting, if you have an extended stay hotel in your town, and you're giving someone something nicer, more room, more privacy, for less, you can always poach their people. There's always a natural gradient towards you if you can get the word out. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can always beat the competition. It's in their self-interest to save money if they know about you. So your job as Aaron is just to know how to market, be able to get the word out. And it doesn't take long. if you're creating a huge value for people, it doesn't take long for the word to get out. Good question. Good observation too. Okay, so here's the process again of what we've done. Oh, I've seen people start with absolutely nothing, no money out of their pocket, and do this now. And just the working it back through, so everyone's happy, was like we had to figure out how to do the reward and to make it so it's scalable. But that's really what it is, and it's all based on this. The entrepreneur's job is to focus on capturing the difference between, am I just, I don't want to be silly, but it is fascinating that you could pay full price for a rental, or if you're an owner, you can make a lot more money with your rentals if you just furnished it and provide month-to-month rentals. Let's do some questions.
Al, I'm not familiar with the compensation. You said $100. Do they take it paid, or they need a receipt? And if you get it for $50, the government only reimburses for $50.
Yeah, there's different types of reimbursement models. If the GSA, the Government Service Administration, they're the ones who kind of set the standards for different zip codes and how much people can be reimbursed if they're on a government assignment. Federal or states adopt the GSA's guidelines, and then private companies adopt the GSA's guidelines on how much they're going to reimburse their employees. Okay, so it all rolls down from there. You can check the if you have an extended stay America, they pretty much target their rates around the Government Service Administration's policy for them, for that zip code. That's their main business. Is they say, well, how much they work backwards. They say, well, we know that the GSA reimbursement rate is this. Can we make a profit if we charge so much? And then they build everything around that. Just work backwards based on what's known.
Now, my question is, if the person staying there finds this property, let's say for $60 a day, the rest of the 40, will the government still give him, or if it gives him, and does it get into his pocket?
Sometimes they, it depends on what kind of contract it is. If it's just a regular person who's a consultant, like an IT professional, they're going to be given a housing allowance when they sign a contract with the company. That housing allowance is going to be written in. You follow what I'm saying? Has to be disclosed up front. And if it's a construction worker who has fringe benefits set by their unions, that rate is going to be based on the GSA, and it has to be given to them. Okay? If it's a private small company, they may say, we're just going to give you so much per night or pay your reimbursements. Okay? So it varies on who is the employer and what kind of contract they have and arrangement they have. If there's a union, then it's going to be fringe benefits. If it's a federal or state job, it's going to be a GSA. And if it's a small company, it's going to be the wild, wild west. You don't know what it's going to be. Did that answer it?
I want to see the incentivize if it's a low cost for somebody to say, this is great. You know,
yeah. Check out the GSA, Government Service Administration per traveling per diem. Just Google, check their website for that for your area. And then you'll be able to work backward. Or you can simply call the local Extended Stay America. They pretty much would have it. That's what their rates are.
What is the typical term of stays into your scenarios?
Wow, it's all over the place. There's more and more people traveling for months at a time. For example, I'm in Northern California where there's a lot of wildfires, and we have linemen they're taking care of these electrical lines being hired from all over the country, and they're here from 3 to 6 months. One guy might be here 2 years. Okay. Then I have travel nurses, of course, they have 13 months assignments. I got people who are taking care of lottery machines, staying for 2-3 months. We have, next year is going to be a political year, so we have people who come out and they hire a bunch of other people locally to run petitions and different political activities, and so on and so forth. If you went to Extended Stay America, or better yet, if you went to Residence Inn, your local Residence Inn hotel, and you sat in the lobby, you would see people from all walks of life that are there for 1 to 3 months. So there's no way to categorize it. It's just becoming a more popular thing, especially since there's cloud computing and the internet and mobile devices. And also there's more temp jobs. So you don't have to hire someone up and give them all that healthcare and everything that's required. There's just more there's more gigs out there.
So are you providing linen service and that sort of thing, extended services?
No, nope, you don't. Now, extended stay hotels, they provide once a week type of cleaning. Oh, the thing I propose, what works out for me and what other travelers want, is just to be left alone. They'll do their own laundry, so you got to have a laundry machine. That's mandatory. They'll take care of it themselves if they can get a savings. They're trying to ink out a savings and be comfortable. That's the going. You can offer cleaning services and just mark up on it, just like a regular business does. I've maybe had no one's ever taken me up on that. at least my clientele right now. No one's ever taken me up on maid service. Okay. Any more questions on this? You guys good? What do you think of this process? I can't see your face. Let me go back and look at you guys. Let's see if I can see your faces somehow. Go ahead. Who is that talking? Go ahead.
I was just curious about is that me or Silva who's speaking right now?
Go ahead, Stone.
I was just curious about the finding investors and finding, like, if I go to someone, I'm renting their room out, won't they expect me to live there? So finding.
Oh, you're talking about landlords. You're talking about
finding landlords. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, a lot of landlords want to be passive, and they also want to make sure their place is maintained. So that's part of your value proposition, is to take care of their place better than a regular manager would, because you need to, because you're kind of tapping into the hospitality industry. So everything needs to be maintained, and you need to inspect it between your guests and things like that. And again, if you set your business up there, the landlord can kind of expect that you're going to be there for a while, and he's not going to have to deal with turnovers and stuff like that. So it's a huge value proposition. It's very attractive to. You'll get your no's, absolutely, but it's very attractive if you position it that way.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah. So there's no lack of people who want to be passive. Silva, go ahead.
More a question. Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but the question is for the investor or the lending money, how to collect the money. Things always don't go right.
Yeah, that's why I say bill pay, and also that's why I like monthly distributions. Is because it forces the entrepreneur to crunch their numbers each month to give a report. And if you are, if you sign leases, like I sign leases with people, if they're going to be 3-4 months, that's what the investor should be looking for, income coming through. So, and again, not everyone, you got to have that relationship because it's unsecured. And an entrepreneur would be cutting their throat if they didn't make sure the investor won, because they're already in abundance. They haven't put any money out of their pocket, so they got to take. It's like if you have a golden goose and you didn't take care of it, you're just stupid. So,
well, a lot of stupid things happen in the world. So they can
yes.
take $7,000, go on a vacation, and call it done. No more, no Airbnb, nothing. They get done with the vacation. That's all they need, And you,
Yeah,
dead at that point,
So yeah, I wouldn't loan. As an investor, you got to figure out. You always have to figure out who you're going to loan money to. You have to vet them, right? As a entrepreneur, you got to have a relationship with people you borrow the money from. So it's all based on that. That's across industry, no matter what.
So if you're already approaching the owner of the property, you're in essence, looking for credit from that owner. Why not approach that owner with the same proposition as if he was the investor?
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
involve fewer people.
That's absolutely right. You can joint venture right with the owner. The thing, you absolutely can. That makes it simple. The thing that I want you to keep in mind is the location of where these are. Since you can control it by a joint venture, a lease option, or a lease, you can cherry pick the location of where you set up, so you can give people great experience. That's what's amazing. It can be right next to a very popular coffee shop, or I was across the street from a they call it the Sardine Bar in Philadelphia. I was at, and they had a lot of really good energy. That was the perfect place to be if you're a traveler and going to Philly, but you may not be able to. That's the thing. You have your pick of locations. That's what's amazing about this.
Yeah, my 2 cents is approaching the owner is the best, but they may not need the capital, or they may not want to do this. So
Yeah.
the question is getting that owner who wants to do it and needs your capital. That's a tougher job.
Well, you're right. None of the people I work with really need my capital. It seems somehow I'm working with a well-off investor who has his own portfolio. In 2 cases, this is 2 out of my 20. And even my smaller people, once you go through this for 1 year and you have a track record you can show people, it really opens up a lot of doors for you. It's not I get a lot more yeses now. I got a lot of no's when I was first starting.
Yeah, my take is, if, just like you said, every investor has to qualify this. So if the entrepreneur borrowing shows a certain track record of filling at a certain rate, or they have to show a certain commitment with the past record, that will make it easy for the person to say, yes, we'll lend money for you. If they show certain metrics, maybe it's just going through a course Al has taught, a commitment. They took a course. That is good for, let's say at a certain level for me, they took the course and they're serious,
Well, that helps. Absolutely helps. But it comes down to people. It comes down to just people liking you and giving you a shot. I've seen it over and over again. No matter how fancy of the website or whatever, the first one comes down to, sometimes people show up at an investor meeting, a RIA, and they ask, hey, who has a vacancy? And they get it just based on that. So it's all over the board.
Oh, okay.
There's no one way.
As far as
yeah, I really like this. I really like this. And
good.
It's great. If there's somebody I can jump on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I want to make sure you guys kind of get what I'm saying here. You can, even if you have money, it's smart to just keep it in reserves and start and scale this. And you can assign the money to take care of to accomplish whatever your financial goals are, and work yourself. If you want to get rid of your job, this is a well thought out pathway right here. And like Stone, if you need to pay off student loans, this is pathway that you can just set to pay off loans. Okay. Produce net income for you. Let's see. I got some questions. Let me check those out. It says, great, love this, making it easy. Good. Mute, please. All right. Perfect. Let's see what I have next. Okay. So all this is based on this. As long as this is true, and you have an extended stay hotel in your town, you know, that's already done the market, already done the research, then you could just jump into this. Your goal, if you are the entrepreneur, you can just start producing net income. Yeah, and of course I have a course on it. If you guys want to hang around and listen to me tell you about this piece of it, I'm going to talk to you about how entrepreneurs can, exactly how they can produce net income. But that's the new part. I just want you guys to know this process and kind of understand it so that you can add that to your toolkit. Okay. Any more questions on this process here? I want to make sure I get you before I. You guys good? Okay. So let's move on.
Finding investors.
Okay, go ahead.
That's it.
Finding investors?
That was just finding investors. Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of untapped IRA money, untapped, unused, self-directed retirement accounts. Tons of them. Anytime someone switches a job, here I'm gonna mute you guys here. Mute, and there you go. You guys did it yourselves. Perfect. Thank you. So there's a ton. Anytime someone switches a job, their retirement accounts goes to a IRA, an individual retirement account, and they forget about it. So there's so much money there. All you do is, anytime you see someone on LinkedIn that congratulate them starting their new job, well, there's an IRA set up, and if you know that person, you can teach them about self-directed IRAs, and you have plenty of money. They can't use it anyway, and you can grow their retirement accounts for them so that they win. It's not that difficult. In fact, if you just got started with, you know, either leasing a place from somebody, joint venturing with a landlord, doing a lease option, all kinds of ways, and show people your track record, investors will come out of the woodwork for 20% return on their money. Okay, it's in their self-interest to find you. Everyone needs the entrepreneur to make a decision. That's what it is. If an entrepreneur makes a decision, all of this happens. Everyone wins. The tenant wins, the landlord wins, the investor wins, and of course the housing entrepreneur wins. Hope you guys follow what I'm saying there. It's a great economy. It feels good to be a part of it. All right. Let me tell you more about my course that helps you create that net income. So I have it broken down into 6 steps, and there's tasks. So if you follow the steps and do the task, you will make it all happen. It's all been thought out, tested. I've mentored a lot of people so that I can guide you right through. It's not a lot of fluff. It's just do the tasks. That's really what it comes down to. Do the task and stay within the bounds. First step is orientation. Make sure you're looking at extended stays, which is completely different than the tourist market. Okay, it doesn't take up all your time. It allows you to scale like I was showing you without going crazy. And step 2 is kind of discover your market's potential. That's what I was kind of talking about with the GSA thing and the Government Service Administration. You're starting with what you know people are paying, are able to pay and willing to pay. And then you work your way backwards so that you give them a savings. And if you can create a savings for people, they will find you and this will work. But you got to know work your way backwards from some certainty. And step 3 is furnishing. This is so critical. This breaks my heart because a lot of people reach out to me after they've poured thousands and thousands and thousands into buying figurines and crap for their place and spent way too much money setting their place up. And at that point, it's really hard for me to help them with their net income because they have such a deep pit that they've dug for themselves. So it's really important that you furnish your place strategically. And I have a checklist and things like that so that you make the right decisions and you don't over furnish and don't under furnish. That's really important as well. Now, marketing is everything, making sure this place stays filled, make sure there's no long vacancies. In fact, if you're doing extended stays, that's 30 days and longer, and you have a vacancy that you have plenty of time to fill it. So the harsh thing is, and I even tell myself this, I don't have very many vacancies, but if you have a vacancy, that means your marketing stinks. That's what it means, because you have plenty of time. It's not like you don't know. If you have 4 months of a lease agreement, it's not like you don't know you're going to have a vacancy in 4 months. You got plenty of time to marketing. So you absolutely can keep these things filled. That's what I'm saying. Especially if you have an extended stay hotel in your area that they have people who are paying more to have less. So you just got to get the word out to them. Now, transitioning is important because a lot of people are doing this. Step 5. Transitioning is important because a lot of people start off with these short 1-2 night stays, and they never think about going longer, doing this month-to-month rentals. So it's kind of letting go and putting your systems in place. That's what transitioning is about, so that you can have time freedom, and you can have, and getting checklists together, simple as checklists, a lot of it, you can have other people run your checklist. So that's what's important about step 5. It frees you up from having a job to having a system that makes money for you. And that's why I want to show you this whole process, because this, my course here fits into helping you create net income. And step 6 is rental arbitrage. And I have it as the last step because you need to know how to market. If you start off doing rental arbitrage and all you know is Airbnb, then you're putting yourself at risk. So rental arbitrage is about renting someone else's place and furnishing it and turning that into a short-term rental so that you can make that margin, okay? And there's a lot to it, and I have it broken out into checklists, and I do quite a bit of this myself. Even though I own rentals, I own my rentals for equity buildup and wealth buildup, but not for cash flow. They don't do well cash flow because there's always something breaking, always something going wrong, always a water heater or a water line corroding or something like that. So they're absolutely wonderful for equity buildup, but for cash flow, you need something else. You need to either flip it over to a short-term rental, at least some of them, not everything, but at least some of them, or do rental arbitrage. So that's what rental arbitrage is about, is to give you that cash flow, and it puts you into abundance, allows you to scale up real quick, just like Erin did. After she went 1 year of figuring out what's going on, then she was able to scale at will without her own money because she knew what she was doing. All right, so I have some bonuses that, in addition to that, I do group coaching every day. I'm always on Facebook. We do monthly calls, just like this Zoom call we're doing now. We do this with people in the community, and we help each other out and cheer each other on and hold each other accountable, because you got to associate yourself with people who are doing the same thing, because you just learn faster that way. And they're all recorded too. Also, you can always email me. This comes with unlimited email support, and I'll help you right out right away, whether it's how to grow or scale your business or negotiate terms with the landlord, anything like that. I'm happy to help. Then I have something called Ninja Training, which is really whatever you need. It's just a one-on-one call with me. If you need to raise money, I'll help you with that. If you just need to work out your script and how you're going to talk to people at your RIA meeting or your investor meeting, I'll help you with that. So everything you need just to make sure that you're successful. Now here's a kind of a summary of the things that I offer. Of course, I do extended stays for landlords. That's what we're talking about with this pitch deck and all the bonuses there. And then I do something called a Genesis workshop as well, and where we do a 3-day immersion just to make sure we get everything done all at once so that you can actually get your first rental arbitrage up and going in 30 days and have a tenant in it. So if you're interested in this, that thing of how to create net income, if you go to Genesis, you will have that done in 30 days. And in that, in addition to what I shared with you, these 3 days are the 3 things about building your business. We do this over 3 days, and then I follow up with you for the next 30 days. We check in 3 times a week. I put a lot of pressure on you to make sure you get it done. And then I have something called marketing school for extended stays too with that. I'll tell you about that. And of course, we set up your own website and business card. So you have everything in those 3 days. So marketing school for extended stays is new. It's me embedding myself into the hotel industry. I'll actually be going to their trainings, same ones residents and salespeople go to. And I'll be learning all their stuff as well as going to corporate housing trainings. So I'm in the process of scaling my 20 to 200 to the same size of a small hotel. So I'm training myself to be a general manager of a hotel. So we're scaling up quite a bit, and I have a lot to learn. And as I learn, you will learn too. So that's what this is about, marketing school for extended stays. All right, so if you want Genesis, there's 12 spots. It's going to be January 24th, 26th, and it's going to be in San Diego, California. That's coming up. And so that's what Genesis is. That's the next one. I do about every 3 months or so. We do it. And so for those of you who want the coaching and training program, you just go to extendedstaylandlord.com. It's $9.97. And if you want to upgrade to Genesis, you send me an email. Hey, you guys can ask me more questions. Let me know if you have questions. I want to make sure that you guys all understand the process and